said to me, "These words are faithful and true, and the Lord, the God of the spirits of the prophets, sent his angel to show to his bondservants the things which must soon take place. And behold, I am coming quickly. Blessed is he who heeds the words of the prophecy of this book." And he said to me, "Do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this book, for the time is near. Behold, I am coming quickly, and my reward is with me, to render to every man according to what he has done. He who testifies to these things says, Yes, I am coming quickly." The book of Revelation was written sometime around 96 CE in Asia Minor. This would have been 60 years or so after the crucifixion of Jesus. The author of this book was probably a new follower of Jesus, but most likely never met Jesus nor ever had the opportunity to read the Gospels. In writing the book of Revelation, John follows the pattern that was used in older apocalyptic writings in the Old Testament. Other books such as the Book of Daniel in the Old Testament, 1 Esdras in the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch in the Pseudepigrapha, the Assumption of Moses, and many other well-known writings, including sections of the Book of Ezekiel from the Old Testament as well. In the Book of Revelation, the apocalyptic hopes of the early Christian community find their clearest and most complete expression. Apocalypticism was not a new phenomenon, it was a well-established belief among Jews, who held that the coming of the kingdom of God would not be brought about by a gradual transformation but by a sudden intervention. This is when they said Yahweh would end the present age and establish his kingdom in the world made anew. This conception of coming events is associated with the belief that prior to this future time, the struggle between the forces of good and evil will become more intense. As the evil powers grow stronger, they will inflict persecution and, in some instances, even death upon those who follow a course of righteousness. The struggle will eventually reach a climax, at which time Yahweh will intervene, destroy the forces of evil, and set up a new order in which the righteous will live for all time to come. And they say, the appearance of the Messiah will coincide with the coming of these events. When the members of the Christian community affirmed their belief that the crucified Jesus was the long-awaited Messiah, they necessarily revised their understanding concerning the work of Jesus, especially the way in which his work would be completed. Because they were convinced that the work of the Messiah must end in triumph and glory, they believed that this end could be accomplished only by a return of Jesus back to this earth from the heaven to which he had ascended. This second coming, occurring at the time when all the events connected with the apocalyptic program will take place, will inaugurate the coming of the new age, as well as the final destruction of all the forces of evil. As time passed, many Christians, especially those who were suffering persecution at the hands of the Roman government, became deeply concerned about how long it would be before these events would take place. Toward the end of the 1st century of the Christian era, a kind of emperor worship was fairly well established, not only in the city of Rome but in the outlying regions that formed a part of the empire. When Christians refused to worship the emperor, they were accused of all sorts of crimes and subjected to the most severe penalties. Some of them suffered martyrdom rather than deny their personal faith. It was a critical time for the entire early church movement, and many of its members wondered whether the persecution would ever end. Others just wondered about the course they should follow. Some were even tempted to abandon their faith or at least to make concessions to Rome sufficient to enable them to stay alive. Under these conditions, a follower of Jesus named John wrote Revelation, addressing it to the 7 churches that were in Asia Minor. The purpose of the book was to strengthen the faith of the members of these churches by giving to them the assurance that deliverance from the evil powers arrayed against them was close at hand. Some modern-day people agree and say the book gives them hope. John was confident that the great day of divine intervention would occur within a comparatively short time, but in accordance with the apocalyptic literature with which Jewish churches were familiar, he knew from his Old Testament study that many terrifying events would take place first. He wanted to warn his fellow believers concerning these events and thus prepare them for the time when their faith would be put to a more severe test than anything that they had experienced thus far. John pictured the God of the Jews coming back with rage and vengeance. He knew about the day of the Lord and Judgment Day as taught by the Torah. The truth for me is that John considered his new faith in Jesus to be a statement of renewal in the faith in Yahweh. He saw all the divine wrath being poured out on the Roman army for what they had done to Jerusalem. He pictured the day of the Lord Yahweh. He did not write about the love of Jesus and the God of love only, his Father. The placement of the book of Revelation, in my opinion, is wrong. It should have been at the end of the Old Testament. All this book does is circle us back to Yahweh. It definitely does not belong with Jesus of the New Covenant. However, there are 3 passages found in the book of Revelation that John says Jesus gave to him concerning the law of Yahweh. These passages are Revelation 12:17, 14:12, and 22:14. Through each one of these passages, Jesus supposedly tells John of Patmos that we are to uphold and follow the law of Yahweh. John says, he even goes on and says that keeping Yahweh's laws is the only way to the tree of life, his kingdom. Keeping of Yahweh's law is not important to New Covenant believers. Our God is love and not vengeful. No matter how much pleasure you take in revenge,